So as the 9-month standoff between Indian and Chinese forces begins to wind down, or the first phase has wound down this week, there are many tactical and strategic lessons that are big takeaways in this episode that has happened in eastern Ladakh. What are those takeaways? What are those lessons? What are those experiences? Is something that I'm going to talk about in this week's episode of Simply Nitin. I'm Nitin Gokhale. So one of the first lessons that the Indian military will imbibe going forward is the fact that it has to focus more on the northern borders, given that China is a larger adversary, it is more powerful and has a bigger military. And also, it has malified intentions against India, no matter what this disengagement has brought. So how has the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, imbibed those lessons in these 9 months of the standoff in eastern Ladakh? Couple of things stand out. One is that the speed of response of the Indian military of inducting large number of troops, some say up to 90,000 troops were inducted into eastern Ladakh to face off the Chinese, who had also brought in as many or even little less number of troops from their side. The synergy between the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army in employing heavy lift, strategic airlift of the C-17s, the C-130s, the Chinooks for tactical airlift, of switching troops from one sector to the other, also bringing in supplies, bringing in essentials, bringing in billeting, tents, clothing, all that came together at a phenomenal speed. Clearly, years of practice and years of planning of logistics chain from different parts of India coming into Ladakh, which is inhospitable area amongst many such areas in India, has paid off. And in that sense, this will be a great experience to follow or implement in the years to come. Also, the troops staying in inhospitable areas, in tents or out in the open for months together during the harsh winter months from October to February also brings in that much new expertise and new skills to the deployment of troops in various combat situations. In fact, Indian Army is proud to say that during these 9 months, not a single fatal casualty has been experienced in terms of weather-related or in terms of health-related issues. That's a huge achievement, I would say, for the Indian Army, because remember, the troops were staying out in the open at altitudes ranging from 16 to 18,000 feet, with temperatures going down in the daytime in such sunny situations to minus 30 degrees, and at night going to minus 40 and beyond because of the wind chill factor and the whipping winds that are present in those heights in Chushul, in Depsang, in Gogra, in Hot Springs, all these areas that all of us have come to know of late. That is one of the lessons that the Indian Army is very proud of saying, that it will take many points, positive points from here. How did they do it? There are several protocols that were followed. 2 or 3 important protocols that were followed by the soldiers was about different kind of daily routine that each of them was forced to follow. One is called the foot bath, the other is called the water parade, the third is called the towel parade, the fourth is called the medicine parade, where people in pairs would ensure that the feet are kept absolutely dry, moisturized, and similarly the towel parade is like sponging is done in the hospitals, where towels are dipped in hot water and one soldier would actually sponge the upper body of another soldier and then follow it up with the buddy or the pair that they have formed. That kept them fresh, that kept them going. Also, each of them ensured that every 2 hours, people fell in line or made a queue and drank at least 1 bottle of water to keep themselves hydrated. Because in high altitudes, one of the key elements of surviving is to keep yourself hydrated and not allow the body to get dehydrated. That was ensured by allowing each other to help the soldiers staying together and deployed together. Similarly, doctors were told if they thought there was slightest chance or a slightest opportunity for bringing down the soldier from the heights, in case that soldier was feeling uneasy or was proving to be a little sick because of the high altitude sickness or any other issue, the Indian Army did not hesitate to evacuate that soldier to lower heights. The only thing to be done in such situations is to bring the person who is suffering from high altitude sickness or pulmonary edema is to lose height. So if you're at 18,000 feet and if you're feeling sick there, the best is to come down to 10,000 feet and automatically many problems get solved. So that protocol was strictly followed, and therefore the fact that there was not a single health casualty during these 9 months, despite the harsh winter, the tough terrain, and of course the tension of being face to face with the enemy. The other myth that is broken is about the so-called invincibility of the Chinese soldier. Because of the 1962 war and the all-round rout or debacle of the military in the 62 war, despite the bravery in Walong, in Chushul, in other sectors, even in Depsang and Hot Springs or Galwan, the Indian Army soldier or Indian psyche had always thought about the Chinese as some 10 feet tall soldier who would run over the deployments of the Indian Army. This time, the Indian Army not only got speedily deployed, it stood firm and made sure that the Chinese Army went back rapidly. In fact, it so became apparent from October or November onwards that the Chinese were wary and that they wanted to go back as soon as possible. So by the 9th round of the Corps Commander's talks, the Chinese delegation leader apparently said, "I am tired, I am sick, both mentally and physically. Let's end this." And therefore, the Chinese went back in a hurry. As you will see in some of these photographs, they dismantled all the structures they had put up, quickly took them along with them and scooted almost back to their barracks and their comforts. And that's because, remember, majority of the Chinese soldiers are conscripts who come for 3-year service and then go back to their original professions or pursue academic studies or go into their civilian vocations. Now, they were not expecting to stay in these conditions for so long. So what was the purpose of doing this standoff and coming and trying to take India by surprise or Indian military by surprise is still being analyzed. But these small lessons, small experiences are going to stand India in a good stead. The logistics chain worked beautifully. The synergy between the Indian Air Force and the Army was phenomenal. And now the infrastructure that is being built at a rapid pace in Ladakh and other parts of the LAC elsewhere in the eastern sector and the central sector is something that is beneficial to the defenses of India in the long run. The Border Roads Organization worked very hard through the summer and also through the winter, kept the passes open, kept the supply lines open as far as possible. The Zojila Pass was kept open till 31st December. The other passes within Ladakh, Changla and Khardungla, were also kept open throughout so that the movement of troops, trucks, supplies, all were carried out without a hitch. So many lessons here. Similarly, Indian Air Force moved its offensive assets close to the area of action. May not be just in Ladakh or in Jammu and Kashmir, but to areas in Punjab and Haryana and Uttar Pradesh where they could be deployed at a moment's notice. The Indian Air Force's transport fleet and the tactical airlift and the strategic airlift fleet has risen to the occasion and of course the other ground forces, the ground support staff of the Indian Air Force rose to the occasion. We had shown you in October how the Leh Air Base, which was basically a base to take care of the Siachen deployment for largely. 114 helicopter unit has been functioning here since 1984. Despite just the helicopter unit being here, the Leh Air Base again was equal to the task and hosted a number of aircraft, helicopters, ground assets, offensive assets, and of course the Indian Air Force has now dovetailed many of its plans into something that the army wants if there is another situation like this going forward. The Chinese were not only surprised by the speed of response, but also the resoluteness of the Indian armed forces and the fact that they did not succumb to the coercion, the military coercion that was sought to be applied against India. That's something that is a big takeaway, and whether going forward the LAC can be clarified and new protocols can be put into place is something that one can talk about later. But these small issues that I have highlighted are something that we should be all proud about. That's all I have this time in Simply Nitin. But keep watching Simply Nitin, keep liking us, keep sending feedback. Our social media handles are well known to you. And of course, if you like our kind of journalism, keep supporting us financially. Until the next time, it's goodbye.